Our next speaker is Rey Hernandez. He will be speaking to us about the statistical studies of the contact modalities, understanding our greater reality.
First of all, I want to thank Dr. Jeffrey Kreipel and Rice University for the invitation. And I want to begin with an invocation from the Bhagavad Gita. It all seems real, but as it is constantly changing, it is not real. Due to this Maya mentality, the illusion that the world is real, people do not look beyond the veil of illusion to me, the unchanging consciousness, the absolute reality beyond all the worldly. They do not see beyond me, the very basis of it all. This curtain of illusion is hard to see through, Arjuna. Only those who love and depend completely on divinity are eventually able to see through it. Those who are unable to see the veil beyond the veil, cannot in effect discriminate between real and not real. Oblivious to the reality of their own higher nature, they sink to their lower nature and do evil deeds, committing acts that turn them away from the divinity. It all seems real, but as it is constantly changing, it is not real. Jeffrey, I also want to publicly state that I am a heretic among heretics. I attended the University of California at Berkeley for a PhD, and I was the recipient of a National Science Foundation PhD fellowship. Unfortunately, while writing my dissertation, my now deceased wife had a brain aneurysm, and with 2 small children and 2 family members of my wife to take care of, I had to quit writing my dissertation, and I had to take on 2 full-time jobs. As you can see, the dissertation was out the door. So instead of an intellectually stimulating job as a PhD academic at a major university, instead I became an IRS tax attorney. Complete opposite, an unimaginative and mindless profession. Thankfully, I recently retired, and this will enable me to devote significant time to my passion, which is academic research on the relationship between consciousness and the contact modalities. The Dr. Edgar Mitchell Free Foundation was co-founded by myself, Australian researcher Mary Rodwell, Apollo 14 astronaut Dr. Edgar Mitchell, and Dr. Rudy Shield. Dr. Mitchell was the 6th man to walk on the moon. He received a PhD from MIT and was the founder of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, an organization that is recognized as the world's leading academic research institute on the psi phenomenon and consciousness. Dr. Rudy Shield is an emeritus professor of astrophysics at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center of Astrophysics. Rudy is one of the world's leading academics in astrophysics and has published over 300 peer-reviewed academic papers in the field of astrophysics, cosmology, and consciousness. We then began to add over 10 PhD academics to this organization. Over the next 5 years, between 2013 to 2018, we conducted the world's first and only comprehensive academic statistical research study on UFO contact experiencers. Never been done before, never been done since. So all these stories that you hear on the internet, from my perspective, throw them out the door. This is 4,300 UFO contact experiencers from over 125 countries. And we spent 5 years, just 9 months, just developing the research methodology for this. After 5 years, and we had collected tons of data, we had 660 questions, quantitative questions, and 70 open-ended qualitative questions. We received responses from more than 4,300 individuals from over 125 countries and over 10,000 pages of written responses to our 70 open-ended questions. And poor Dr. John Klimo, who Dr. Kreipel knows very well, had the task of writing chapter 2, which is the analysis of the 10,000 pages of the open-ended questions. As I mentioned before, these are the 3 co-editors of our book, Beyond UFOs, which I'll hold up real quick here, 820 pages, okay? And I'm gonna be summarizing in less than 10 minutes the findings from this book, which is an impossible task. But if you wanna read it, it's available for free on our website. I already discussed the research methodology. Anyone has any questions about it? After our talk, I can go into the details of it. We conducted the survey in 4 major languages. Our research findings totally contradict what is circulating in the field of mainstream materialist ufology. And the reason for that is quite simple. No one has ever done this work before. No one has ever collected the research data on UFO contact experiencers. And let me go over, as I said before, in 2 minutes, what took us 5 years to acquire. Finding number 1, these experiences, unlike all the BS that you read on the internet and all of these books and stories, initially 37% viewed their experiences as negative. But then over time, the overwhelming majority of these individuals had continued contact experiences. And over time, by the time they took our survey, only 4% viewed their experiences as negative. That's it, 4%. But this is a long-term process. I have back there my friend, who's I consider one of the world's major contact experiencers, but he's not public. So there are many people like that that just have kept quiet all their lives. Finding number 2, these experiences resulted in a total, complete transformation of the experiencer. Similar to the NDE research started by Dr. Kenneth Ring with his book, The Omega Project, published in 1992. Dr. Ring is one of the world's major NDE researchers. What we found was that specifically, these individuals became much more loving to each other, less materialistic, more ecological. They no longer feared death. They understood that life continues after our physical death. They were no longer concerned about being famous or well-known, and they became less competitive in their workplace. Finding number 3, these experiencers, unlike all the other information circulating on the internet, these experiences are primarily, quote-unquote, paranormal, consciousness-based experiences. While you might have seen a UFO, while you might have seen a perceived physical being, over 95% of these experiences, these continued experiences throughout their lives, were paranormal in nature. As you can see the data right there, 78% received telepathic communications. 76% saw a ghost, a deceased person. 67% physically saw small colored orbs. 66% had past life memories. 50% had a miraculous medical healing. That's how my experiences started, with a miraculous medical healing. 31% were given a message about God. 30% were told about the death process. These are just a few of hundreds of these data points that we acquired. I just don't have time to go over them. Finding number 4, okay? Just like most of the major UFO researchers, such as Dr. Jacques Vallée, who spoke here last year, Dr. J. Allen Hynek, Dr. John Mack. Later on, we're going to have a panel on Dr. John Mack and his work. And all of these major researchers stated that the UFO phenomenon involves a manipulation of space-time. So you cannot completely describe this via materialistic lenses. Okay, 84% had precognitive experiences. 80% had out-of-body experiences. 46% were brought to the spirit world. 42% had downloads of advanced math or advanced technology. 37% had a near-death experiences. And again, these are just a few of hundreds of data points that we acquired in our survey. Again, the first and only comprehensive academic statistical research study of UFO contact experiencers. The next finding, these individuals were brought to what can be described as another dimension, another reality. 50% of these individuals. These experiences were overwhelmingly positive. Spiritual lessons were taught in this other reality. This happened to me. In this alternate reality, time seemed to stop, and they were shown visions of their past and future experiences and humanity's future events, usually ecological disasters. So as you can see a pattern here of the similarities between near-death experiences, astral travel experiences, okay? The next finding number 5. In addition, 85% of the survey participants believe that there is a relationship between UFO contact, the paranormal, and the spirit world. If you talk to major UFO contact experiencers, they will tell you all of this phenomenon is about spirituality. It's about awakening them to know that they are eternal spiritual beings. Again, these are the major contact experiencers. Finally, 78% were given messages from non-human intelligence. 31% were given a message about God. 30% were told about the death process. 28% were told that they came from God, from the universal mind. 26% were given a message about reincarnation. And again, this is just a few of hundreds of data sets that we acquired. Okay. In contrast to materialist ufology, the free research data, similar to the works of UFO pioneers, Dr. Jacques Vallée, Dr. J. Allen Hynek, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, Dr. John Mack, a professor of psychiatry at the Harvard School of Medicine, all of these UFO researchers concluded that the UFO contact phenomenon has a dual aspect nature. It has both a physical and a psyche, or a consciousness-based component that involves a manipulation of space-time. And materialist ufologists are totally clueless to this topic. All of these scholars that I mentioned before argue that the intelligence behind the UFO phenomenon might not be a physical being from a physical planet. They might not be a physical spaceship from a distant galaxy. Instead, they've argued that the UFO phenomena might be an interdimensional phenomenon based on consciousness. Philosophers might use the term dual aspect monism to describe this dual aspect nature of the UFO phenomenon. And I know for a fact that Dr. Kreipel has used this terminology to describe the UFO phenomenon. This is Dr. Jacques Vallée. He spoke here last year, was one of the primary keynote speakers.
I think that from my own point of view, I'm going to be very disappointed if UFOs turn out to be nothing more than visitors from another planet, because I think there could be something much more interesting.
Something from another dimension of space or time?
I think what the UFO phenomenon is teaching us is that we don't understand time and space. Here are objects, I think we have to call them objects, that are physical, that interact with the environment, that cause effects on the witnesses, on the psychology and the physiology of the witnesses, and leave traces on the ground, and yet are capable of, appear to be capable of manipulating time and space in ways that go beyond what our physics understands today.
Okay, I'm going to be using this term, the contact modalities. That's a term that I coined in 2013 when I published an article that Dr. Edgar Mitchell reviewed and Dr. Rudy Shield reviewed and approved. And that was published in the website of the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Free Foundation. While all of our survey participants saw a physical UFO and had contact with either a perceived physical or non-physical, non-human intelligence, more than 95% of their experiences can be considered as quote-unquote paranormal in nature, what we at CCRI, the Consciousness and Contact Research Institute, which is the organization that evolved from the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Free Foundation, what we are calling the contact modalities. The contact modalities are all of the different ways, whoops, I don't know why that came out, are all of the different ways that humans are piercing the veil of our physical reality via what Dr. Edgar Mitchell termed non-local consciousness, and are having diverse contact experiences with various diverse forms of non-human intelligence. The vast majority of the free survey participants, similar to my personal experiences, began to have diverse paranormal experiences after their first UFO sightings. Just like many NDE experiencers, they begin to see deceased people after their NDE experience. After people have had out-of-body and astral travel experiences, all of a sudden, a whole Pandora's box of paranormal experiences begin. The same paranormal experiences also occur after many near-death experiences and after many out-of-body experiences. What a strange coincidence, huh? What are the contact modalities? Materialists in ufology do not focus on the UFO contact experiencer. They do not focus on the paranormal aspects of the phenomenon. They do not discuss the fact that the vast percentage of UFO contact experiencers are having primarily non-physical consciousness-based experiences via the contact modalities. They do not focus, as Dr. Jacques Vallée, Dr. Hynek, Dr. Mitchell, Dr. John Mack have argued over 40 years, that the UFO phenomenon involves a manipulation of space-time. Instead, for these materialists, the UFO phenomenon is about physicalism. It is only about UFO videos, UFO pictures, UFO sightings, UFO crashes. For this reason, in my last 3 books, which are all here, available for free, I redefined the term UFO or UAP to the new term, CAP, which stands for Conscious Aerial Phenomenon. This is a more appropriate term because the UFO phenomenon is without a doubt a consciousness-based phenomenon. Okay. This materialist approach to ufology has contributed, in my opinion, almost nothing over the last 80 years. In my opinion, materialists are totally clueless, and I'm very blunt here, obviously, as to the complexities of the UFO contact phenomenon. Very few materialists, quite possibly many of you here at this conference, are not aware of our academic research study, or have even bothered to read our historic book, Beyond UFOs. Okay? Why? Could the answer be because our book mentions the word consciousness in its title? Once a materialist hears the word consciousness, they run away like it's a plague. For my materialist friends that are out there, you can now download a free copy of this book, Beyond UFOs. 820 pages. In 2019, the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Free Foundation was reorganized after the passing of Dr. Mitchell. After discovering the consciousness-based research findings of the UFO contact phenomenon, we determined that there are many similarities between the UFO phenomenon and the NDE, OBE, remote viewing, hallucinogenic journeys, sightings of ghosts and spirits, etc., that they all share a commonality. We then decided to change the mission of the organization and to focus our academic research on the relationship between consciousness and all of the contact modalities. We renamed our organization the Consciousness and Contact Research Institute, or CCRI, an academic research organization that's now comprised of more than 20 PhD academics and 5 medical doctors. Go to our website, agreaterreality.com, and you'll see the list of all the academics and medical doctors that have written academic articles for this monstrosity of 1,600 pages titled A Greater Reality. All of these articles and books are available for free for you to download. And if any of you are interested at all in the topic of consciousness, you know who these people are that have written chapters. In the near future, I guess I skipped a beat here. Okay. CCRI hypothesizes the following. First of all, that consciousness is primary and not our perceived physical reality. And I believe that's a hypothesis that Dr. Kreipel also shares with us. We hypothesize that our perceived physical reality is a manifestation of consciousness. We also hypothesize that we, as individuated units of consciousness, of human consciousness, are actually residing inside, for lack of better terminology, a virtual and a spiritual reality. And that's all detailed in my book, The Mind of God, okay? Of the journeys of the human soul. So I'm not telling you anything new here. I'm just recounting what many of the academics also believe and hypothesize, and what has been spoken about since the dawn of mankind, since the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? Now, Dr. Gary Schwartz, professor at Harvard and Yale, and now is at the University of Arizona, and Dr. Raymond Moody, the father of NDE research.
Consciousness is first. If it's primary, if it all starts with a one consciousness and everything else is then part of that one and evolves from that one, and we all have this, we're all part of the unified whole. We're all both one, we're all the one, and we're also a unique part of the one.
I think the primary reality is consciousness, and that physicality is projected by the consciousness to give continuity to the narrative aspect of life.
Consciousness is first.
Okay. We hope to undertake a comprehensive academic research study of the experiencers of all the contact modalities. So we want to follow the same model that we did with UFO Contact Experiencers, except we want to study all the experiencers to see what are the commonalities. The CCRI organization was recently established, and as I said before, we published a 4-volume book. Actually, 2 volumes are already published. These are theoretical chapters, and they're available at our website for free. And volumes 3 and 4 are chapters written by major contact experiencers. The 5 co-editors, Dr. Rudy Shield, professor of astrophysics at Harvard, Dr. Michael Grosso, PhD in philosophy, now retired. I'm sure Jeffrey is a good friend of his because they have a lot of similarities. Dr. John Klimo, Dr. Jeffrey Long, and myself. And this is the book, The Mind of God, which is the introductory chapter to that book. Now, regarding documentary, we've been working for 5 years on a documentary, and let me play it.
Well, I would say my near-death experience in many ways changed me completely.
I'm able to travel outside of my body on the astral plane, and I have done since I was 9 years old.
The first time I had an experience with the beings, I was about 5 years old.
I had a hunch that these orbs were something out of this world.
I picked up on everybody else's energy, and I would know when things would happen.
It's like your vision is not from the eyes, it's from something else.
I had zero interest in anything else paranormal related. And then my life was turned upside down. Holy shit, what the hell just happened? I knew that this was not a dream. This is another reality. And I needed to understand it.
We have an out-of-body experience 3 or 4 times a month, and I've learned how to move, fly, walk through walls.
The elements of a near-death experience are, first, separation of consciousness and out-of-body experience.
I detached from my lifeless body. They were beings, spiritual beings soaring around me and bringing me peace.
A being of complete compassion and love and knowledge.
I was shown things that you just don't see in this world.
When I opened my eyes, there was Katie, this little girl spirit. I wanted to know where she was buried. I'm going to the cemetery and she's guiding me. Right here is her little place.
We are saturated with intelligent life right here and right now.
And their eyes were these glowing, green, blue, iridescent, beautiful eyes. It was like looking at a hologram.
The way I understand the world is due to contact. This expanded way of life is a beautiful thing. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
So what I discovered is as people become more aware of their experiences, that their perspective in life is changed.
I think one has always changed. I think that's what our ancestors were trying to tell us. And so I started looking at the Bible in a different way.
Everybody got on their camels and converged on Bethlehem to see what's up with that star up there.
Consciousness is at the heart of all of this. It is that glue that binds all of these experiences together.
Our consciousness includes the physical universe. It includes the cosmos. Everything we know about quantum physics and cosmology, altered states of consciousness, and contact with non-human intelligence.
And it's only by bringing all these pieces together, both finding their commonalities and how they can each inform each other, that we can then see the big picture.
Is there life after death? Do we live in a simulated reality? Is it possible that all of these paranormal experiences are somehow interrelated?
Are we dealing with dead people here, or is this more about consciousness and time?
From my perspective, quantum physics doesn't only allow for the spiritual realm, that is, for the afterlife and for reincarnation, for all these things to be real, it insists on it.
This is going to change everything.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. Go to our website. You can download all of those books that I showed you for free. Thank you.